National Treasure, Soda, and the Gettysburg Address are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is November 19th, 2021. It is the 323rd day of the year. There are 42 days left. This is the 47th Friday in the 47th week and the 59th day of fall. Got a little over a month left till winter, 32 days actually. If you had a child born this year, at least after February 12th, they were born in the year of the ox. Chinese New Year 2021 began on Friday, February 12, 2021. The Chinese Lunar New Year is observed from February 12th and it will last until January 30th, 2022. Did you know there are 5 different types of ox? Each ox has a different personality trait. There's the metal ox, water ox, wood ox, fire ox, and earth ox. Today is National Carbonated Beverage with Caffeine Day. That's a mouthful. Speaking of a mouthful, on November 19th, explore the variety of carbonated beverages with caffeine. That's what they suggest you do on their website to celebrate this day. And if you're one of the people that can't have caffeine for religious beliefs or for medical reasons, please don't enjoy this day. Just think about it. The whole carbonated thing is a great story. It was actually invented by accident. A guy noticed that his water was different when he was near a brewery, and so he kind of looked into it a little bit and came up with this. Anyway, 1767, an Englishman named Joseph Priestley suspended a bowl of distilled water above a beer vat at a local brewery in Leeds, England. His experiment led to a method of infusing water and carbon dioxide to make carbonated water. Priestley's invention of carbonated water is the major and defining component of most soft drinks. Yeah, so he's the dude. He kind of realized it when he was just drinking water near the brewery and then kind of found it out. Kind of neat. All right, let's see what else happened on November 19th. 1863, the American Civil War. U.S. President Abraham Lincoln delivers the Gettysburg Address at the dedication ceremony for the military cemetery at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A lot of people think that the Gettysburg Address was given years after the Civil War had ended, and that's totally incorrect. The Civil War had almost 2 years left to go when the Gettysburg Address was actually given. 1916, Samuel Goldwyn and Edgar Sulwyn established Goldwyn Pictures, which eventually evolves into MGM. 1946, Afghanistan. Iceland and Sweden join the United Nations. Now, this is a little off that subject, but it's about Afghanistan. There's a YouTube channel called Real Life Lore, and they did an amazing video last July called Why Afghanistan is Impossible to Conquer. If you go back on history, the British have tried, the Russians, the Americans, and it's never gone well for anyone that tried to basically plant their flag in Afghanistan. The video is extremely interesting, and I will link it down below. 1950, U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower becomes the Supreme Commander of NATO in Europe. 1979, during the Iran hostage crisis, Iranian leader Ayatollah Khomeini orders the release of 13 females and all black American hostages being held at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. 1994, in the United Kingdom, the first national lottery draw is held. Like all lotteries, your chance of winning that one was next to impossible. You had a 1 in 14 million chance of correctly guessing the winning 6 out of 49 numbers. 1996, a Beechcraft 1900 and a Beechcraft King Air collide at Quincy Regional Airport in Quincy, Illinois, killing 14 people. 2002, a Greek oil tanker called the Prestige actually breaks in half and sinks off the coast of Galicia. This is near Spain and Portugal and all that. It releases over 20 million US gallons of oil. This is the largest environmental disaster in Spain and Portuguese history. This one was bad. 2004, the worst brawl in NBA history results in several players being suspended. Several players and fans are charged with assault. So there's a couple brawls, and it was a pretty chippy game. I remember watching this in the news, and a fan threw something at one of the players who went into the stands after the fan and started fighting with him. His name's Ron Artest. It turns into this big thing. Other players go into the stands. Eventually, Ron Artest is not banned, but he was suspended for a whole season and lost about $5 million in pay and fines. He also had to attend anger management therapy and do community service. Steven Jackson, he got a 30 30-game suspension, lost almost $2 million, actually $1.7 million. Jermaine O'Neal got suspended for 15 games and lost $4 million in salary and fines. And it goes down some of the other guys from the other team. This was the Pacers, but the Pistons' Ben Wallace was suspended 6 games, lost $400,000. That was bad. When you start losing millions because you decide to go into the stands after a fan, yeah, you deserve to lose those millions. The fan is totally wrong, don't get me wrong. Should not be throwing stuff at someone. But you're a professional athlete, and there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes along with it. You didn't get injured. He didn't throw a chair, hit you in the head. He threw a cup. Doesn't make sense. 2010, the first of 4 explosions takes place at the Pike River mine in New Zealand. 29 people are killed in the nation's worst mining disaster since 1914. So this one was pretty bad. I mean, you lost 29 miners. That's bad in itself. But just yesterday, they recovered some of the bodies. And I'm talking 11 years later. So when the explosions originally happened, they were worried about more explosions happening and the gases that were inside the mine. So they thought they'd hold off for a couple days before they went in to try and attempt to rescue. Well, when they did finally attempt to rescue, they found out that the air in there was 95% methane and no one was going to be alive. The families held out hope, just like all families should, that they were still alive, but the rescuers said no, they were all killed in the initial explosion. There was no tapping on pipes, no attempts to signal them. They also figured most of the area where they were hadn't collapsed, so they would have been able to at least signal or try and work their way out if they were still alive. Over the years, there's been attempts to get into the mine and see if they could find the remains of them, and eventually in 2017, the company that owned the mine said that they were just going to seal it off and call it good because there's no way they were going to be able to get to these guys. The families won a court injunction. It forced them to kind of keep looking, and that's where we get to just yesterday, where they had finally made it to a point and found at least, they figure, remains of 3 miners. I'm sure this story isn't complete. We're going to find out more as the months go on. Movies released on November 19th, 2004. One of my favorite movies, National Treasure. I've talked about this one before. There's a series of them. They were all great. I loved them. Well, actually, the third one wasn't that good. But the first film, National Treasure, is about a historian played by Nicolas Cage who tries to find a legendary treasure in the nation's capital. And it's really, really interesting. Gets all into the Freemasons, and they're all over the world trying to find things. It is such a good movie. To date, the film has grossed over $350 million. Born on November 19th, 1977, Carrie Strug, American gymnast who won the 1996 Olympic team gold medal in gymnastics despite having a sprained ankle. She also won the bronze in 1992. I watched her in the Olympics, especially the time when she had the sprained ankle. Just such heart in this girl. Died on November 19th, 2014, we lost Mel Tillis. He was a country music superstar responsible for such hits as I Ain't Never, Good Woman Blues, Coca-Cola Cowboy, and a bunch of other songs. Before music, he was in the United States Air Force, worked on the railroads before he got his first hit, which was I'm Tired in 1957. During the late 70s and 80s, he always seemed to be popping up in Burt Reynolds' movie like Smoking the Bandit, Cannonball Run, things like that. Mel Tillis was 85 years old and had been unwell since January 2016 he had a bunch of different illnesses, and he finally passed away on November 19th, 2017 of respiratory failure in Ocala, Florida. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, be productive, and be nice to each other.